Let me put the mic on and then double check the audio. And I need to mute the TV. Where did I put the remote? Testing. Testing. Alright, that sounds good. We are all good to go. The only thing I need to do, it's right here. Use the television. Hey guys, we're going to be picking up where we left off previously, which was working on these handles for these drawerbinet units over there. I think that picks up in camera, and let's also get that glare from the light out. There we go. So we're going to be doing this picking up with making these handles for all of our drawerbinet units. We have, 6 of them currently done. We have 4 more to do. We already started taking passes on it before my phone died in our previous live stream. So we're going to finish that up. And then we're going to go ahead and actually build our last drawerbinet box, put finish on our last 2 doors, and get the last 2 installed into our cabinet boxes. So let me run some dust collection over here, and we can get started. Definitely want dust collection on this. Try to keep the chips from being all over the floor. The router is probably one of my messiest tools. That set up. We're going to route it all these. Our first pipe. Next step is to raise our bits. Whenever you're routing something, you want to do your end grade first. So in this case, I'm going to take this sacrificial board, run it along my fence, and do both end grain passes, and then do the long grain. This is our second pass. This is the first pass. This gives your fingers a little more to grab on the back side. All right, now we have all the passes with the cove bit taken care of. The next step is I'm gonna take a round over to kind of ease up these front edges, just to make that a little bit better to grab onto. We also need to slide the fence back, and we'll change this throat plate because this one does not seem to like this round over bit. And all we're doing is swapping out the throat plates with a bigger one so my bit can clear all the way through it. Did I unplug it first? Hypothetically, yes, I did, but realistically, no, I didn't. I will say more so for certain types of routers. Some of them have a button. This one actually has a whole toggle switch on the side. I'm not too worried about hitting that while I'm actually tightening up this bit. If I had like a trim router or like a battery powered router, like the flex router, one with a button on it, I'd be more worried about this getting bumped or something like that. Not too worried about bumping the on and off switch when it's a toggle switch. There we go. Alright, and let's set the height for the router bit. Trying to think if I want to go shallow, if I want to go all the way. We'll start with this as a first pass and see what it looks like. And then as far as how I need to set the fence, you just need a straight edge. Line it up with your bearings and then lock down your fence. All right, let's give this our first test cut. It clears my fence. Let's go turn the dust collection on back on too. right, and that's it with the router. Let me grab a piece of sandpaper. I actually had my piece right here. I'm just going to scuff these up a little bit, and then we're going to head over to our hand tool bench. Actually, we might just move over there. I might sand everything over there. Probably be a better place for it. And then I'll show you guys how I'm drilling all the holes for the handles. Ooh, can I grab all of them? There we go. Spread you guys over here. So what we're going to be tackling right here, this is where I'm going to actually drill out for all the holes. I've already pre-drilled a couple of them. Pretty much I found the center this way and then found the center this way. Then I just used my Craig jig, set it up, drilled all my holes, and then I can come right here on all my drawerbinet units and pre-drill all the holes there. But I do need to scuff up these 4 that I just made. And right here where I'm going to grab it, this rounded portion or whatever else. Don't want to get any splinters later on. Hit the end grain and everything else that might have a little fuzzy sticking up. All these are going to get a teak oil finish, so you do want to sand it up a little bit. These were freshly off the planer before they went through the router though. And then after we drill all these holes, we'll head back to the workbench. We'll apply a teak oil on all these and on all my door fronts. And then we'll set up to build our last 2 drawerbinet units. And for those of you guys who don't know or haven't saw our last couple of live streams, what we're working on are these. These are pull-out drawers made from scrap plywood laying around the shop. Essentially, by having pull-out drawers in your upper cabinets, you have full access to the full depth of the cabinet. You can do various organizers like I did in this one. This side holds tape. The other side holds my various blades. This is one of my planer blades. It has table saw blades, circular saw blades, and everything else in there. So there's generalized storage. I can kind of organize them however I want them to, or however I want to for each one of these units. But all this is made from leftover 1/2-inch OSB, leftover small mahogany pieces, and some 1/4-inch plywood that I kind of repurposed to do these. So what we had to do was finish up our last few handles. And we have 2 more boxes to build. And then we're done. Yeah, thank you. I think these came out pretty cool. And probably the coolest part about them is the drawer slides. John Heights over on YouTube came up with this idea. These are wooden full extension drawer slides. So essentially you take your router on one side, you'll cut in a recess and a slot. Then there's a recess and a slot on the opposite side as far as top and bottom, and also on the opposite side of the wood. So when you go inside of your cabinet, let's say this is the inside of your cabinet, and you want to mount your drawer slide. Oh, this is lucky. It's actually the same length too. So if you want to take one of these, get it in camera, take one of these. If you put a hole right here in the middle, your drawer slide, if your screw is sitting right here, this drawer slide can then slide out about halfway. And it stops. And what that gives you on the other side, this will be where you actually screw into your drawer box. Again, you'll have another hole in the center of your cabinet box that screw can then travel this distance, which gives you a full extension wooden drawer slide. I thought it was pretty cool. There's not too many ways I've seen to make a full extension wooden drawer slide, and they work for all of these. So all of these are wooden full extension drawer slides. So in this video, we're going to install our last 2 units, finish our last couple doors. Yes, I think overall, because this whole bank of cabinets, there's 10 of them. So I would have needed 10 sets of drawer slides. So it would have been about $200, give or take, in drawer slides. And this whole entire build, again, completely from scraps. Like I recently hung the ceiling and the walls with 1/2-inch OSB throughout the rest of my shop. Minus the lights, don't let those blind you. I recently hung all of that with OSB. All of these cabinets are built up of the scrap OSB pieces. Pretty much, I didn't use any full sheets for this whole entire bank of cabinets. I still have 2 full sheets over there. I didn't want to use any full sheets, so I pretty much everything over here is entirely from scraps. Like all the stiles and rails, all these short pieces are from blocks like this laying around in my shop that I resawed. I made the bottom rail go the full length just because I didn't have all the longer pieces of mahogany I had. They were like 44, 45 inches, and I needed 24 inches for my full stiles. But I had a bunch of short pieces that were long enough to make a rail that went all the way across. So instead of, again, having the stile run all the way through, the rails run all the way across. Again, just using scraps, doing what I can as far as utilizing the material as best as possible. It's kind of what this whole entire building project was for. And it came out pretty good. Again, we're almost done. We've so far built 8. We have 2 more units to do. These are our last handles. Our door fronts are already built. We have all the parts for actual drawerbinet units, so we're going to assemble those and then install it, put the drawer front on it, and apply our finish, and then we'll be done. Just a little bit of sanding, you know, the part that everybody loves. Gotta get that part out of the way. And these aren't really too bad or too rough. I don't really need to hit them so much. This is 150 grit. Because again, all these pieces before I got to this point came from the planer. Now there's, again, small pieces like this laying around the shop that I resawed and made into little handle blanks. All right. And then what I need to do now is, I no longer remember what the center of this was. It was, these are 5 and 5/16. So what was the center of the other ones? 5 and 5. Okay, so 5 and 5, that is 2.5, 2 5/8 heavy. I'm gonna mark the center on all these at 2 5/8 heavy. There we go. That's our center marks. Now the next thing I need to do is see how wide it is this way, so I can find the center going back down here, and then I can reset my jig to reference off of my vise, so I can drill them while they're sitting here inside the vise. And to do that, this is 9/16. So a quarter plus the thickness of my pencil should do it. And how I'm going to check is I'm going to also bring the gauge back from the other side. And there's an example. I did a line on both sides and the line. Oh yeah, I did a quarter, but I set it up on the quarter on the gauge. And I was going to see if my pencil thickness was going to get me there. Because typically, again, if you set this to a quarter, your pencil still rides up against it. So I was going to see if that took care of it. But yeah, I need to raise this up just a smidge more. Because as you guys saw on the piece, the lines did not stack on top of each other. A little bit more. And that's what we want. So what I'm going to do now, I don't need to mark each and every one of them. I just need to mark 2. And then I can bring this into my vise. And I need to go grab my drill bits too, because they're not over here. Yeah, almost flush. Clamp it in place. And then this is one of the Craig handle jigs for like cabinets. It has a fence on the back. I'm not sure if my vise is perfectly square to where my handle is going to sit in, but this fence itself can be cocked at an angle. So all I need to do is, again, you have your holes, and then they have like a little arrow on the side. So all I need to do is one, line up the center with my center mark, and then make sure that my fence has this registering where I want it to. But let me grab my drill bit. I can drill out all 4 of those. Then I can switch over to drilling the holes in the actual cabinets. Don't remember what size drill bit for these screws. That's too big. Where? I really don't know where all my bits are. This one will do. I probably left it over here, actually. Oh, whatever. So what I'm going to do now is loosen up the fence. Line myself on the center. This side is right on the line. And then we're going to lock this side down. Right on the line. And what I'm checking for is as I slide this, the little indicator line on the side of my jig, and make sure it lines up with my pencil marks. But then I can bring it right here to the center. Press the jig in firmly. will say also, this jig is meant for a 3/16 bit. I'm not using a 3/16 bit because these screws can't take a 3/16 bit. So my drill bit is not perfectly centered in the hole either. So it's not going to be perfect. And again, I don't know where my bit is. So it's going to be fine. But now I rinse and repeat. Clamp another handle into the same place. Line up the center mark. And I can drill out all 4 of these holes. And then I can drill those. I can use the same jig and drill all the holes in all my drawer fronts. And then what this does is once I drill the holes into the cabinet doors, I'm able to drive my screws from the inside. And yeah, these work pretty good for the shop. They don't have to be perfect. These are, again, all shop cabinets. And again, I can go buy a bunch of handles, but I think mahogany scraps that I have an issue throwing away make great handles. Beautiful. Alright, now let's go look at the cabinets. And I'm going to drill the holes in the face of all the doors. And then what is are you asking in general, like what I think is becoming pricey? Oh, you're saying wood. Yeah, and again, I have a slight addiction. Whenever I see scraps that I think I could probably reuse, I'm going to keep it and try to find a use for it. I typically do. Like, again, if I had trashed all the wood that I've put into these cabinets, I would have had to buy more plywood. So I always find a use for them. And then for this, all I'm doing is coming over here to the cabinets. I could try to find dead center. I'm not really doing that. I'm just, again, eyeballing it. I can see the spacing here on the side. This right side is larger than the left. And I just eyeball it. This one I can drill with the bigger hole. So the screw goes through. Switch to that 1/8 inch bit. Yeah, 1/8 inch bit. And yeah, you guys will see how I actually mount the handles in a second. What I'm about to do now is drill all these. And then we're going to go ahead and put finish on the doors and the other 2 handles. And yeah, I guess I very well could go and be extremely meticulous on how I drill these. This will keep them pretty much in line. Them being centered left and right isn't really too big of a deal to me. Well, I don't know. Maybe they'll piss me off in about a year or two. We'll see. And there we go. All right, let's swing the camera back over here to the bench. Let me move the hose for the dust collection. And we can start applying finish to everything. I do need to take a quick leak. One thing I'm not liking though is that it's starting to get cold out here. This is not my time of year. My shop has been a little frigid. I do have a heater out here, but that thing burns a ton of power. I'm looking at getting a mini split to kind of offset the large heater. The finish of choice for all these is going to be a teak oil. Oh crap. I don't have a bowl out here. My bowls are inside. So give me like 10 seconds, guys. I do need to run inside and grab me a paper bowl so I can actually put the finish in. Probably need to just grab a stack and leave out here. Alright, hopefully it wasn't gone too long. Alright, what I like to do, I like to use these paper bowls whenever I'm applying a finish. This gives me, well, any type of oil finish I need to pour into a container. I just have a bunch of these inside the house. They make the perfect container for applying finishes. Let me grab a rag and some gloves. And let me actually blow this dust off the table too. All right. I did not do the handles that are currently up there. I did do those doors. So after we get teak oil on all these, actually let me go ahead and clear off that table. So we're going to get teak oil on all of these, and I'm going to move them to that bench over there. Then I'm going to put teak oil on all the handles that are already up. And I want this bench clear so I can assemble the other two units. Probably can go and put teak oil on this while I got it out. Cool. Also, if you guys haven't seen these, I made a pair of wooden swords a couple live streams ago. Definitely feel free to check them out. Makes a great kids toy project for, if you know, for little kids and anything else. I haven't stained them or anything, but then they're pretty cool. All right. Put the cigarette back in the pack. I'll take old furniture apart and use them for lumber. I've done that a few times, especially if I see a piece of furniture that actually has like something that's made out of something good. I think I had a client that had a bunch of it was a teak outdoor table, so I took that apart and I made what did I do with it? I think I made a countertop for like an outdoor cabinet that my aunt had. Pretty much just planed down everything, then re-glued up all the teak, which is where I found out that teak is a pain in the ass to glue up. But I've also seen those really cool TikTok videos, Instagram videos, where they'll take like a full dresser, cut out a section of it, and make it like a bench and a dresser. You know, those are pretty cool. I just hate sanding. So the idea of like picking up old wooden furniture, if I can't turn it into flat boards that I can send to my planer, I am not going to deal with it. Because like sanding old detailed legs and stuff, screw that. Well, right now, I'm planning to get one of those surf prep sanders with the foam pads. Once I get one of those, then maybe, you know, tackling curves wouldn't be such a pain in the ass. But where it stands now, I hate sanding. I actually need to cut this rag in half. That would do, and I use that one to dry everything off. Not your bag. I'm misunderstanding. What do you mean? I wish I got notifications whenever somebody sent me a message in chat so I can actually hear it. But yeah, if you guys also have never applied teak oil, it's a standard oil finish. It works just like Danish oil. You just want to saturate your surface. You do not want to oversaturate because you can trap air bubbles in there. And then you get like a white milky film because your top layer will cure, but you'll still have finish bubbling up from down below. So you want to apply a decent layer. Again, it's kind of like applying a stain. Actually, I'll say most oil finishes kind of fit a standard stain application. You want to rub it in, let it soak, and then wipe off the excess. I do prefer something like an Odie's oil over Odie's oil, Rubio Monocoat, and Osmo. They're hard wax oils, not so much a standard oil finish, because they have a wax in it, so they actually need to be buffed in, versus an oil finish that can be easily rubbed in. Like this, I'm not, working my arm muscles. If this was an Odie's oil, I would have to be putting in elbow grease to thoroughly buff it in. It doesn't spread as easy. An oil is loose like an actual oil. Waxes are thick, almost like butter. But hard wax finishes definitely give you a more durable protection. But on mahogany, I think teak oil might actually be one of the best finishes to put on it. Oh yeah, nobody likes sanding. Were you trying to say not so bad? Oh, not my bag, as in like I don't enjoy it. No, I hate sanding. Like I actually hate sanding. And again, if I get this Surf Prep sander, because it comes with like a foam pad, so when you apply your sandpaper to it, like if you have a rounded off corner or like a detailed chair leg, the foam pad will contour around whatever you're sanding. So you don't have to, you're not going to ruin the profile, but you still can sand it. So again, when I get one of those sanders, I will probably sand more. But right now, I do what is necessary. Any more than that is beyond necessary. So yeah, again, for most projects, if I can't send it through the planer, I probably will not save scrap wood. But I am also the guy who will save like finger jointed pine and then turn it into like coasters or, you know, towel bars or something. So I hold on to a lot of stuff that most people will call junk. I just like to get creative with how I use it. As long as it doesn't sit around for too long and it can find a purpose, you can make an extra handle for a cabinet or drawer slides for all of these over here, then it's a useful piece to hold on to. It's like that one meme with the old guy. He's been holding on to a piece of wood for like 5 years, and then his son asked for that specific piece of wood. That's how I felt when I started this cabinet build over here. There was so much scraps just laying around the shop, and I knew I wanted to build some cabinets, but I didn't want to go buy wood. And then I went around and pulled through all my bins and realized I had every piece that I need to do this. And that's a 10-foot long bank of cabinets with drawer fronts and drawer boxes in them, and all of it from the plywood to the handles to the drawer slides are all tiny pieces of scrap that typically will find their way into my fire pit. And then I've already lacquered the black portion of these door panels, but that little teak oil on top of it doesn't hurt. Now the last step is to do all of the handles, and then I'm gonna see if I can spin the camera around without touching it too much to do the other handles that are up on the cabinets currently. And then we'll move all this stuff off the bench and put together our last two drawerbinet units. Also, I want to say I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me. We're sitting at like, what, 48, 50 people in here consistently throughout the night so far. We're probably going to hit like a 2.5, maybe 3 hour stream. It really just depends on how long it takes to finish up these last few items. But again, I appreciate everybody for hanging out. If you guys are new to the channel, you know, smash the like button, leave me a subscription. I am on the road to monetization, which hopefully for me will allow me to put out more consistent content and better content. If you guys watch any of my other videos, like shorts and long format videos, you guys will probably know that I desperately need an editor. That's partially also why I'm doing live streams, because I am terrible at the whole computer stuff. I'm really good at the nails and wood kind of aspect of what I do. So I would love to be able to hire an editor, but before I do that, I want all that to come out of, you know, whatever YouTube profits, if it is anything serious. But hopefully that can be paid for by the YouTube. Sit down and write scripts and get some funny jokes in there. That's one thing a lot of you guys don't know. I'm actually hilarious. Okay, I got one. I never actually did this one on live, but I'm gonna ask. Has anybody in the chat heard the one about paper? It's nice to watch you. You're very pleasant in speaking and explaining what you're doing. I greatly appreciate it. I am here to help. That's partially why I started YouTube. I wanted to be able to teach. I definitely wish I can get more content of me physically on the job site because, again, I'm a woodworker. It's kind of like my side hobby, but I'm a full-time general contractor. I do finished carpentry, high-end millwork, coffered ceilings, crown molding, stairs, doors, baseboard, and crown molding and stuff like that. But I typically do not have the time on job sites to set up cameras and like film myself. You know, that'd be kind of unfair to the people I'm charging. But that'd be one of those things like, hey, if my YouTube channel gets large enough to where it can justify it, you know, if it takes me an extra 3 hours to film this project, so I'm here for an extra day and a half with the YouTube channel or the video that I can produce, but offset that. That way it's not getting charged to the client. It's just I'm here to film and work at the same time, or maybe pay one of my helpers to film. You know, when he's either slow or something like that, give him a camera. So I definitely would like to be able to delve into more content, especially more content that will help the average person. You know, like setting a door inside of your house, how to change your cabinets, how to adjust your cabinet doors if they're sticking. You know, simple stuff. There's lots of little tips and tricks that I've actually accumulated over the years that I would love to be able to put out. It's just I don't always have the time or the ability to set up a camera and do so, but inside of my shop, I have pretty much maximum free time. Same here. See, yeah, I'm only 31 now. I've been in construction for probably about 10 years, and woodworking, again, is just my passion / hobby. So I do to pass most of my time now. And again, because I am a finished carpenter, I get a few clients that want custom built-ins, custom doors, and things of that nature. So occasionally my shop does help bring in my actual income. Like I've done a few high-end doors. I had one client that wanted a $15,000 mahogany door. All this mahogany in the shop now are all leftover pieces from that job. Actually, where is it? Oh, in fact, looking for it. But yeah, all these pieces are leftovers from me building the door jamb, etc. Just small cutoffs. And I've had this mahogany probably laying around the shop for like at least a year. I'm hoping I still can be in the shop when I get a little bit older. My goal in life, if I can get lucky, will be the time I get about 55, 60, full-time in the shop and sending guys out to go do my installs. Have a crew of reliable people that I've trained and taught. But until then, I do it all. I do the installs and the fun builds. Probably should have put the finish on these before I installed them, but I'm able to rub it in. It'll be all right. And then I'll just come back and wipe off any excess. I just want to make sure that when I come stick my head up under there, I'm not seeing any raw spots. Alright, that's all the handles. So let me actually move the camera over. Actually, first let me show you guys how I clean up and what I do with all of my rags. But I gotta get my gloves off first. So the first thing I'm going to do is pour the excess back into my container. I probably should strain it, but it's oil finish. It's not like it's a paint. If my rag did pick up any lint, and I can actually see the little bit of contaminants right there, I'll leave that in the bowl. I'll rinse that out. I like to take my gloves off at this point. Those will go in the bowl. All get rinsed out thoroughly. That goes into the trash can. My doors. I'm going to go over here to this other bench. I typically like to apply finish during the day so I can actually put my rags directly outside and then, throw them away by the end of the day. But if they're going to be inside of my shop, and there might be a point where I leave them, what I like to do, I'll move the camera over and show you guys. I have a metal toolbox. I like to lay the rag on top of the metal toolbox and then move the metal toolbox away from anything wooden inside of my shop. So hypothetically, if it was to go up in flames, the the rag will burn itself out and just burn on top of the metal toolbox versus, catching something else on fire. But yeah, you can also lay them out on your concrete, anywhere else that's safe. What kind of hinges? Hinges on what? Are you talking about the doors or the drawerbinet units? Those aren't using hinges. Those are going to be full extension wooden drawer slides. Yeah, that little metal toolbox right there is where I toss my rag. I typically pull it right from up under the bench. But I'm going to be out here for a while, but right there, so if it ever does hypothetically combust, it's sitting here in the middle of the floor, not underneath the bench, of course. If it does flame up, it's not here. It's typically over here. Like if I go in for the night, that's where that's going to be sitting. If it's not dry before I go inside. And yeah, there's nothing that, that rag can do. Maybe if I had like 30 rags up there, it would be dangerous, but that's typically what I do. Instead of just leaving them on the floor if I don't have time to set them outside. And as far as these cabinets, these look like doors. They are not doors though. I'm taking the name from Lincoln Street Woodworks. He built drawerbinets, essentially upper cabinet drawers. And I'm using wooden full extension drawer slides. And I make various organizers. This side holds tape. I can actually just show you guys. This side holds tape with another shelf on top. And then over here on this side holds my various blades. But these are full extension wooden drawer slides. So instead of buying the metal ones, these give you the access to make a drawer, pull out the full depth of the cabinet. And again, each one of these organizers are fairly different in height and everything else. So I can actually store different things in each one. I haven't really decided what's going to go in each one. I'm still working on that right now. I'm not as organized as I like it to be. And yes, drawerbinets. And again, I'm not going to act like I coined that term. Lincoln Street Woodworks came up with the name. He called them drawerbinets. I'm copying his idea. But then I'm also taking the other idea from John Heights. He came up with the wooden full extension drawer slides. So I'm using two different YouTubers' ideas and put them together. The full extension drawer slides work by having get into the camera. It's reverse. Don't get confused. There we go. There's a slot on one side. This side has a slot, but there's no recess. Let me grab a screw. These work because there's a recess on one side, so I can put in the screw, and there's recess below the face of the plywood. But on this side, the slot is on the other side of it. So how it works is, let's say this center block wall was my cabinet, the inside of my cabinet. I would drill in one side. This will be able to slide halfway. The screw would then stop it. And then I can drive in a screw from the other side to the slot now that's on the opposite side into my actual drawerbinet unit, which then allows the drawerbinet to slide up the other half. So you can make these custom to any size cabinet. If you have a 34-inch deep cabinet, you can make these longer. You can also make these out of 3/4-inch plywood. You can really make them thicker, beefier. This is only 2 inches wide. You can make it 5 inches wide if you need to carry more weight. So it's adjustable. But at this configuration, John Heights set it up to where that you can actually replace these completely with standard metal drawer slides. So if these ever fail you or whatever the case may be, I can go grab metal drawer slides and pull all these out and put the metal drawer slides in. So it gives me ultimate flexibility. I get to reuse a bunch of scraps and see what I really can, make out of wood. So I always like doing that. It's always fun, satisfying. All right, so the next step, let me make sure my air compressor is plugged up. We're going to be putting together the other two drawerbinet units. I already have all the parts cut. That should be enough room. Ooh, don't let the air hose knock over the camera. Probably run that down there. Staple down. This is the back of the Home Depot. No, I think I'm a little more organized than the standard Home Depot. And probably have more tools in this small space. Let's see, I need 1 1/4 staples and my clamps. Inch and a quarter staples. I think I put those back there on the door. No, I didn't. I put them in here. These are 1.5 inches. And these are the 1 1/4 inches. And then I had 18 gauge. Don't know where those are. So again, what state do I live in? I live in Virginia. Alright, in this pile of unsuspecting scraps lies 2 complete drawerbinet builds. Oh wait, I forgot. I still need to rip these 2 pieces. Damn, I thought I was ready. I stand mistaken. I need to rip these 2 pieces real quick on the table saw, and then I'll be ready to assemble both of these units. Also, something cool to note. Again, when I said I was using scraps throughout this entire build, these aren't 3/4 inch pieces of plywood. This is 3/4 inch pieces laminated together. You can see on this side, that is sandy ply. On that side, it's a BC grade plywood. So again, just utilizing tons of scraps. I needed some more 3/4 inch plywood, and I had a bunch of 1/4 inch ply that's no good to me except for like shelving material. So by laminating, like this one is sandy ply, this way. It's sandy ply on the both sides, but then has 1/4 inch ply on the inside. So again, being creative throughout this entire process, I was able to use a bunch of wood that typically, again, would be in the trash can for most people. So let's actually move the camera back over to the table saw and take these 2 rips, and then we can continue on with the rest of the build. I also need to rerun the dust collection hose back to the table saw. There we go. right, let's make these 2 rips. And again, when pieces get down to about this small, probably should trash them. But yeah. I do halfway okay with the dust collection. I haven't really cut anything too much today, but right above my table saw there's an air cleaner, and the vacuum that goes to my table saw is the larger ridge vacuum with the rigid vacuum with the cyclone separator, the HEPA filter, and the HEPA bag on it. So the air cleaner gets most of the airborne dust, and the shop floor itself, I typically blow it out at the end of each day. I let the leaf blower and kind of clean everything out. I have a trash can that only takes cigarette butts. All my scrap wood only goes into my blue can back there. I don't put wood in any of the other trash cans. So I kind of have a protocol that I think works out pretty well. And no, you're perfectly fine. I'm not offended by it. I have a buddy who actually got me into woodworking. Doesn't let me smoke inside the shop at all. So I get it. It's just one of the things about my shop that I love the most is one, it's mine. So I can kind of set it up how I want it to be. Like I have a bathroom, a sink, a mini fridge, 3 recliners, a TV right here. So like I was able to set the space up to be comfortable for me to work in, but also comfortable for me to relax in. So I do bend some of the conventional rules. I typically wear flip-flops in here. And that was one of the other complaints. I do get a lot of those inside of my chat or in comments in general. So I started wearing boots partially because it's really cold now. I kind of don't have an option. So with these 2 pieces, this is essentially the back panel for the drawerbinet units. But again, the drawerbinet units, they're all made of scraps. I don't need a back panel. That's the full width of the drawerbinet unit. So I'm going to rip this in half and then have 2 individual strips for the back. And one thing I do need to get like a computer person or a tech savvy person on, I didn't think about it when I made it, but my workbench is white. So like every now and again, you guys see how like the camera's like reflecting, like the white door back here gets really bright and bounces off a bunch of light. I don't know how to stop that. Like when I stand in front of like that white door, it stopped. But like that glare that I get is a little annoying. I kind of want to Formica top and redo my bench in black to hopefully alleviate, or maybe paint my walls and ceilings. Maybe that'll kind of dim everything down. And what's that last comment? Sometimes I still miss smoking. I wish cigarettes were still good for you. Yeah, they're definitely not. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm more of a pot smoker. So I don't really smoke as many cigarettes. They're kind of just what I do for whenever I'm out and about or when I'm on the job site. It could be. And see, that's one thing. I know nothing about lighting or filmography. You know, considering that I do run a YouTube channel, I definitely should know a little bit more about proper filming. I don't. I'm really good at the nails and wood part. So again, that's why I personally like live streaming a little bit better. 1, because I can directly talk to people who join my channel. And 3, I don't have to get into the whole editing weeds, which I am not good at. So it gives me an outlet to be able to put out more content, but not overstress myself with having to edit a bunch of content. But like, yeah, why did my lights do that? I don't know. How could I stop my lights from doing that? I don't really know. All right, so how wide is this piece? We'll just rip that in half. This is 8 3/8. So we're gonna go 4 3/16. Now I'm good to put these together. And that's a good enough angle of the table. You're gonna do one unit at a time. I haven't fully decided on how I want each one of these to work out because essentially each one of the drawerbinet units are exactly the same except for where the second shelf goes. So how the drawerbinet units work, you take, this is gonna be my side support. This is gonna actually be where my runner goes. It gets two supports on the top and the bottom that help support this. This gets attached to my center shelf. However high or low I put my center shelf actually locates where I need to put my runners inside of my cabinet. So first, I haven't really decided how tall I want these other two to be. Let me make sure everything is, that's 10 and that's 10 because this one was 10 by 10. And actually what I found is MDF seems to hate my staples. So on all the MDF portions, I'm using my 18 gauge straight nailer. But to do so, I actually need to find my 2-inch nails that I just had. Those are all staples I pulled out. My nails were right here. I can't even get in there yet. Let me put 2 more nails in this. That's another thing I hate about this hose. Inside of my truck, I used the, I think, 3/8, that narrower one, so it's more flexible. Inside the shop, I'm using the air hose that my dad uses for all of his automotive stuff, so it's not flexible at all. It makes using nail guns a pain in the ass. And then for the center shelf, how I like to do it is I need to find the center of this piece and mark it here on this end, and to find the center of my plywood. I'm going to start off at an arbitrary 3/8. And see how close that is to the middle. All right, that's it. And it goes this way. So what this is going to allow me to do is when I install these panels, I can line up the center line that I'm going to put here with the center line that I have there. This makes it easier to nail and line up so that way these are not crooked, because if they are crooked, your stuff isn't going to line up how you want it to inside of your cabinet box. And yes, I could use glue, but I ended up putting together like 10 of these, so my answer was a ton of staples. And again, I am using a ton of scraps, so if I saw the need or saw any of these fail, I'm perfectly fine with having to rebuild any of these if it came down to it. But in the heaviest one that I have now, I have 9 saw blades, a thing of glue, and 2 boxes of framing nails in the cabinet, and it's holding up fine, so I'm not too worried about having to use glue. But again, I did use glue on the first 2 boxes, but then I was like, I don't think I need it. But again, that is my laziness kicking in. 3 5/8, so this one should be inch and a half, inch and 3/4, inch and 13. On the first try. So now I can mark the center on all these. And yeah, you're right. Actually, what I'm going to do is, at least on the side that actually is going to bear the weight from the drawer runner, I go ahead and put glue on it. It won't hurt any. My glue bottle's like right here beneath the bench. Like that bottom shelf, those what I just put up there, those are just kind of guardrails to keep stuff from falling off on the side. The only one that actually carries all the weight of this whole entire build is the middle one. Alright, those are marked. So now I can come here, flip it on this end, line up the pencil mark. Put one nail in on this side. If this hole stops making it awkward. And then I come right here to this side. Line it up with the line. And then flip it over and do it again. And whoops, I just remember I said I was going to use glue and I didn't. Appreciate it, boss man. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your night. And where did I get my apron? This was just an Amazon apron. It was nothing special. If you just go on Amazon and look up woodworking aprons, this is like the 3rd or 4th one that pops up. Square. Yeah, boss man, I greatly appreciate you for joining in for the night. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening or night. And with that line drawn, I can now take my nail gun and sink a bunch of 2-inch brads. And yeah, definitely could have used glue. It wouldn't have hurt at all. Now what I need to do is decide the heights on these last 2 units. See, that's a tall one, so I can use this one for one. And I can use this one for one. Before I go, what is your first name? My name is Kevin. And I have to take a quick leak. But yeah, I'm Kevin, and I'm the owner of New World Carpentry Solutions. You will find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. Yeah, you should be able to find my channel again as well. Again, if you just go ahead and subscribe to New World Carpentry, or again on any of the platforms. I live stream. I'm not even gonna say I do it consistently at this point. It's probably like my 8th or 9th one at this point. Probably gonna do one like once a week, give or take. But I post videos on all my channels every day, 1 video a day. By the way, something you gotta do. Not quite getting that last reference. Was it about me taking a leak? So, how I do these drawerbinets, how I set the top shelf, I kind of take a piece of plywood. This plywood ends up being the reference that I use to set all the heights. So this is going to be the height for one. This will be the height for the other one. I probably cut this one just a little bit shorter. But how I assemble them, I switch over to my staple gun because staples hold better than nails. And the first thing I do is install the front panel. Wait a minute. These are 11. Oh, was I supposed to rip those again? I haven't touched this in a while. Let's see, my front and backs needed to be 11.5 because overall we have 12 inside of these. So my trays need to be 11.5, and is that what they are? Yeah, they're 11.5. I just rent my front panel too small. Does that affect anything? I don't think so. See, again, I did these, or when I cut these, it was a little bit while ago. And apparently, I ripped all my front panels a 1/2 inch too small. So, that doesn't really matter though, because the actual drawerbinet unit and everything else, again, hangs off of your shelves. So you want to make sure that your shelves are the right width. That's why, again, this whole entire process can be made of scraps, because it doesn't really matter. But one thing I do want to do though is make sure I center this on the shelf, which, since they need to be a 1/2 inch smaller, it should be a 1/4 inch on each side. This is just an extra step because I ripped these to the wrong dimension. That was a fluke on my part. But it's all good. It all works out. Flush up the bottom. And then put it right there on my lines. Alright, and one thing that is important is inside the cabinet, the drawerbinet units are going to sit on a 1/4 inch piece of plywood, or they're going to be spaced off the ground 1/4 inch. So I can take that and this panel, and that tells me where the bottom of that needs to land. So then when I go inside my cabinet unit, I can sit this down flat and install my runners. And my runners will be leveled out with the bottom of that. Beautiful. And then I can take the square that I just had. Okay. Well, I say I just had it. Bring that right there and then line it up with the marks that I made for the center line already. And then we'll flip her around. And then for the back sections, because again, this is going to be in the very back of the cabinet, you're almost never going to see it. But I'm going to flush this up with the side here, because I know then it's going to run flush to the side here. And then I just need to set up the height, or how high the shelf needs to be so it doesn't flex. And then the back panel is only so I can drive more staples in it, which then holds everything together. Set this back onto my 1/4-inch spacers. And you guys can see how that lines up right there. I just need to set the shelf itself on the proper height over here on this end, which would be right there. So now that I have those lines established, I can come back with the clamp. And what I want is for this to be perfectly flush on the outside. And there goes another drawerbinet unit, all done. And it can fit various containers of whatever I want to throw in there. We have one more to put together, and again, 2 shelves as well. So you can go top and bottom on each one of these units. Let me move this one over. Actually, I want to move it all the way out the way. We'll just put together the second one, which this is the spacer. That one, this one needs to be a little bit shorter, so I'm going to cut, I don't know, like 3 or 4 inches off of this over here on the miter saw. I haven't used tung oil yet. I have used teak oil. That's teak oil. I haven't used tung oil yet, which I've heard is actually better than teak oil. All right, again, we're getting pretty close. We have one more to put together. We're going to install both of those units. We have 2 doors to put up, and then we have to slide on all of our handles. And then after that, we have completed this cabinet bank inside of my shop. I think it's pretty awesome. It's been looks good. Looks good. I like to see things finally come to fruition. I think I've been working on this drawerbinet build probably about 2 weeks. I stopped to either film stuff so I can actually have film content, and then I'll pull off of it so I can do live streams. Then my phone would die halfway through the live stream. So this has been a journey. We're getting there. All right, and with these, they're 10 this way, and they're 10 3/8 deep, because yeah, those I didn't have enough to cut them full length. So that'll work, boom, boom, boom. And they go like this, switch back to the 18 gauge. Wait, which way did it go? Was it this way or that way? I also need to check my phone battery. I think my phone dies after a 2-hour and 50-minute stream. I would like to get lucky and for the first time ever not have a stream end with my phone dying and actually have it end. What are we making? We were making some pull-out drawerbinet units. Oh, my phone's at 56%. I might actually be good for the rest of the stream. All right, yeah, I can show you what we're making. We're making pull-out drawer units. This is an idea that I picked up from Lincoln Street Woodworks. Move this out of the way. They're essentially pull-out drawers for your upper cabinets. I made all these out of scraps and stuff left over around my shop. So instead of having to struggle to reach stuff in the back of your cabinet, you can have a pull-out drawer, and then each one of these I made custom organizers. Well, not even each one. I've only done one so far. Each one of these so far are just basic shelves. I haven't really done any detailing on those. But I can always go back and add various organizers. This one holds tape. This side holds all my saw blades. You can have another shelf up top. You can kind of orient these however you want. And they use full extension wooden drawer slides instead of like a metal full extension drawer slide. These are all made of wood, which gives you that full access of your cabinet, but saves you the cost of buying drawer slides. So we have one more unit to put together, and then we have to install our 2 units and our door, and then our handles, because we make custom handles as well. And I got 56%, so we actually should have plenty of phone battery to finish this up. Fingers crossed. The next thing I need to do is run this 10 3/8. So we're going to go this full long way to mark these ends. I need to find a center of this piece of plywood. This one is 5/8 thick. So 1/4 plus, probably it's a heavy 1/4, because I have my pencil too. Alright, that's the center. Let me make sure I'm facing the right way. 10 so I do need it on this side. Alright. Do you use an iPhone? No, I am an Android user. Part of the reason why I'm not the best at editing is because I'm not tech savvy like somebody my age should be. I think the last Windows phone I used pissed me off. It was years ago, like many years ago. But dealing with that Windows interface is not for me. How you doing, A-Boss, man? I appreciate you for joining in. But yeah, I'm not an iPhone user. Don't think I'll ever be. So, but yeah, I think on average, again, like while I'm streaming, I get about 2 hours and 57 minutes from a full battery before the phone actually dies. I think my last 3 or 4 streams ended with my phone dying, which is why this stream we picked up like halfway through making all of our handles because we did like most of them at the end of the last one, then it died. So I'm hoping, again, I only have 2 more cabinets to build and install. Be nice if I can have all of that done by the end of this stream. It's crossed though. Not sure what my next stream is probably going to be. After these cabinets are built, we're probably going to do a section of cleats up under that wall. I do have a couple other really cool shop ideas. I want to build a custom fence for my table saw. I recently picked up a bunch of flex tools, so I kind of want to do a bunch of testing on those. I do need to build a new Palk style cradle for my larger benchtop tools. I recently got the flex table saw, so I want to be able to make that usable inside of my shop. A couple of different ideas, but you guys can also let me know in the comments what you guys would like to see. And since I have the center line, no need to guess where the rest of these nails need to go. Ben primer. Oh shit, I missed like the last 3 of those chats. I can scroll up on my phone. I really wish my phone gave me notifications whenever you guys chatted. Yeah, I'm gonna be painting some wood soon. It contains some knots, so I'm using paint and primer. But I know some tannins will still bleed through. Yeah, Benjamin Moore primer is actually a really good one. Another thing I like to do sometimes though is I think there's a Zinsser primer that has shellac in it, and that is a really good way to seal it before you paint it. It'll keep all the knot holes and stuff from bleeding through. And I want to say that you can use regular shellac and paint directly over top of it as well, if the primer isn't working. So it really depends on your prep work, how well you sanded it, and all those other things beforehand. But you definitely want to seal it. So the Ben's primer will do it. Zinsser will do it, and I think you can also use a standard shellac. I think I had a client one time that they had bought a bunch of melamine plywood, and they wanted me to paint the inside of their cabinets, and nothing would stick. Regular paint just peeled right off of the melamine. So what I did was scuffed it up, applied a coat of lacquer, and then I helped the paint actually stick to the lacquer versus the melamine. So there's options. But yeah, for sealing that, I would probably go with like either Zinsser or the Ben primer and do a couple of coats. Alright, that's that. Switch back to the staple gun. Ben primer will fill the cracks of the knots. No, you want to fill the cracks on the knots with like a Bondo and or a wood filler, depending on how big the divots are. If it's really loose, take like a chisel or some of that and kind of pry most of it out, and then come back with the Bondo. Because if you Bondo over like loose knots, it'll just fall back out. And if you use Bondo and it's too thin, it'll also fall back out. So you kind of got to see, depending on your knot, you kind of got to treat it based on that. Will wood fillers swell? I don't think so. I use several wood fillers. The wood fillers that I like to use, again, if it's going to be a quick paint job, I'll go with plastic wood, the DAP product. It actually hardens pretty good, so you can sand it. Or again, if it's a large scale project, Bondo, you can't really go wrong with Bondo. It just, do you want to mix up Bondo? How many doors do you have to do, etc. But Bondo is probably one of the best wood fillers you can use. It's just the hassle of mixing up Bondo. And one thing I'm going to do is actually cheat so I don't have to reset. Because my front panel is too small. So I don't have to kind of reset my offset. I'm just going to come back over here to this one and set my gauge. Trash can. I can't remember why these were cut. I think actually when I cut these out, the panels that I was cutting from wasn't quite big enough, which is why they're not as wide as they needed to be. But it's not bad. It'll be okay. Again, the whole drawer front's going to cover all of it anyway. No problem. I'm glad I can help. All right. And then I can shoot into the rest of the 3/4 inch shelf. And these can go flush to the outside. I really don't like MDF. It seems to really hate these staples. My nail pullers are in the drawer over there. What am I making? We're making some drawerbinets. It's kind of an idea that I picked up from Lincoln Street Woodworks over on YouTube. They're essentially a combination of upper cabinets with pull-out drawers, and then I'm also mixing in John Heights over on YouTube. He built full extension wooden drawer slides. So I'm taking those two ideas and cramming them together. The drawerbinets are just the idea of the upper cabinets with pull-out drawers, but then I took John Heights' idea to make full extension wooden drawer slides. So instead of buying, standard wooden metal drawer slides, $23, $25 a pop, I can make them out of wood and I can make them any length. And there they go. They give me access to the full depth of the cabinet. And again, these are only like 12-inch deep cabinets, but if they were 24s or 30s, I'll make each one of the runners or drawer slides custom for it. So they work for any size cabinet. You can kind of do whatever kind of organization you want. This is the only one where I actually, kind of organized it. The rest of them are just a bunch of shelves. But I can add dividers or pegs, or I plan to put one of these is probably going to be spray cans and stuff like that. One is probably going to hold several tools. This cabinet is the one that's holding my blades because it's perfectly in line with my table saw. So if I run over and grab blades, it's like right there. But yeah, I haven't really decided on what I'm going to do with the rest of the drawers or drawerbinets. But yeah, that's what we're making. We already have the doors done. We have the handles made. This is our last unit to put together. After this one's put together, I'm going to show you guys how I actually mount them inside the cabinet. The full extension drawer slides. Then when I attach our drawer fronts and our handles. And our drawer fronts and handles are right over here. We have finished those up on the first part of the live stream today. And yeah, what makes this whole entire build, I think, pretty special, what I think makes it special, again, Lincoln Street Woodworks and John Heights, when they did this build, they use premium plywood, birch, etc., or various hardwoods. I am using hardwoods in this build, but this whole entire cabinet build, let me go show you guys back over there. I recently hung plywood and stuff inside of my shop, so on my ceilings and everything else, so I can finally get my lights up there. And all these cabinets are built of the offcuts. I didn't use not a single full sheet for any of this. All the stiles and rails are small pieces of mahogany like this that I ripped down to make the individual rails. So I find little scraps of this that typically I would have burnt or tossed away. I have 4 different scrap bins around the shop. One of them underneath here, one on my door, one in my material bench. So I pretty much pulled from all the scraps I had, made all the drawer fronts, made all the doors, made the handles, and again, the whole cabinet boxes are all made up of scraps. This whole entire build, again, it was just flexing my muscles and trying to think about how I can utilize all the scraps inside of my shop, because half-inch OSB has no other purpose. I couldn't turn into another project, so making cabinets kind of made the most sense. But then if I made cabinets, I didn't want them to look ugly. So I was like, how can I make them look nice? And I was like, well, I have to put a complete drawer front on it, and I don't want to see the OSB on the inside of the cabinet. So then I came up with using Lincoln Street Woodworks drawerbinet idea. So even when you pull the drawers out, you only see your drawerbinet unit, which again, this isn't made of the prettiest plywood, but it's okay. My goal was one to see what I can and can't do. And if you guys, I haven't put out the videos yet, but I will eventually have videos on the entire build, how I make the runners, how I do everything. Actually, Instagram and TikTok have the start of this build out right now. They have all the shorts. I think they're about up to when I built my first set of doors. And that's kind of why I wanted to live stream, because I kind of recorded all the content I needed to make the videos when I built my first 2 or 3 of them. So I figured I'll do the last 8 on live streams, so you can see it, sooner. Because TikTok, again, is ahead of my YouTube channel. So instead of having you guys wait forever to see this build, I decided to do some live streams so you guys can get a chance to take a look. And if you guys remember how we did it on the other side, this way, you line that up with the bottom. Actually, I'm gonna put a clamp on that. There we go. Throw a staple in here. We'll come over to this side. All right. All right, and there goes the last box. The next thing I need to do is add the runners to the sides of this, and then add the runners inside of each one of the cabinet boxes. That's the next thing we're going to do. And then we're going to go ahead and actually install both of these drawerbinet units. So what I need to do next is grab my spacer piece and my center finding drill bit. My flex drill is over here. I need 7/8" staples. And I need 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. And also another thing about this entire build, and the name and then the sake of using scraps, all of these are T111 plywood. So these are all the runners that are actually going to support the cabinet itself. And my full extension drawer slide bears on that. That's where the weight comes from, or weight bears down on this strip. Instead of milling a bunch of 1/4" hardwood, I had a bunch of 3/8" T111 that's been sitting around my shop for quite a while. So I decided to run it through the planer and make it into my own custom 1/4" plywood that then can work as my runners. So again, throughout this whole entire build, I think I've done my best to utilize scraps to the best of my ability. I think I've done pretty okay. And the runners inside of the actual cabinet will be set with the height of this, which makes this the very flush bottom. So I can just take a strip and line it up flush to the bottom and flush to the front. And a couple staples. And then how you set the top runner, because any good wooden door slide has a runner at the top and at the bottom to keep the actual slide itself from pinching. So we can flush that up right there to the front. And then I can grab another runner. Another thing that I did to make sure that everything works out is this piece is my spacer. And this spacer itself has 3 layers of tape sitting on top of it. So that makes this a little bit wider than my actual runners are going to be. So that gives them just enough room to move back and forward inside of here. So now when the actual runner goes in there, it has the ability to slide in and out. But then the next thing I do before I go too much further is I put the spacer back in there. And then the spacer has several holes already drilled in them. These 2 holes are dead center. And those 2 holes line up with the height of these 2 holes. On the part that goes to your actual drawer, you drill the top hole. Inside the cabinet, you drill the bottom hole. Let me put a battery on this. And we'll rinse and repeat for the other side. And then the last thing that I will need to do before I install is a light scuff sand with 150 grit paper and paste wax. And again, I don't want to create the illusion that this whole system, it saves you money, but it's definitely work involved to get, your own custom wooden drawer slides. And taking your time throughout the build process, that's going to dictate the result that you get in the end of your build. So if you're just looking for quick and easy drawer slides, the answer is to go buy some. But if you have a little bit of creativity, have some scraps laying around like most woodworkers do, and don't mind making a little bit of sawdust, you can always make your own drawer slides. And when John Heights designed these drawer slides, they were meant for standard, drawer boxes. Not full drawerbinets like these that are taller. I probably should actually put 2 slides on top and bottom. But I haven't found any issue with weight or anything given out, so I'm leaving it how it is. I need to drill the top hole. That's one unit down, and then let me take this over there with it so I know which spacer goes with which one. That is all of these drilled out. Next up is to go into mounting the actual runners inside the cabinets, and then the paste waxing and installation. So let's move the camera back over here. I want you guys not to judge me on my rickety step ladder. I probably will be building a new one at some point. Alright, if you guys saw how I set the height for my shelf in there, I ended up using a piece of leftover 1/4 inch plywood. So when I set the height for the runners inside of the cabinet, well, this itself, when I did it, I had to raise this up 1/4 inch. So that way when I go inside the cabinet, I don't have to raise this up 1/4 inch. But right here at the top of this will be right where my runners need to land. So all I have to do is come and set this inside of the cabinet. Grab a runner, push it all the way to the back, and rest it on top of my plywood. Let's come over here to the other side. And now I need the spacer piece again and the drill. And now for this case, the spacer inside of the cabinet, instead of drilling the top hole, now you drill the bottom hole because of the slots that are cut inside of our drawer runners. They're opposite. So I'm going to grab another runner. Grab my spacer. Just way to get the camera up in here. And then again, you'll take your drill and you'll come into the bottom hole. And then you move your spacer over to the other side, grab another runner, and repeat the process. And then yet again, you drill your bottom hole. That's it for that one. I need to move this stuff out of here. I actually probably make a trash bag holder down here. So for now, I'm just going to slide that over there. And then for the other cabinet, this one uses the other spacer. So Do a quick switch out of my spacers, and I'm back to doing the same steps again. Tack these in. I need some more staples. And let me check my battery. Make sure we're still cooking with gas. We are at 37%. I swear, I hope I get to actually put drawer fronts on and finish. We're almost there. I would like to actually end one stream on purpose versus my phone dying on me. Don't need this piece of plywood anymore. Spacer piece. I'm gonna take that one out. This one splintered up. Again, I am using plywood instead of 1/4-inch hardwood. So you may have some issues in some places where they want to split like that. That's also why I milled extras. So just in case if it does, I can always take it out and replace it. And this one just happened to split after getting the staples shot in there. It's nice to see how well it actually holds. Staples really do their job. Let's see, nail pullers or beat them in. I'm probably just gonna grab nail pullers. Yep, nail pullers. I really wish I can zoom in while live streaming so I can have the camera over there but zoom you guys in so you can actually see this better. Don't be a butt. There we go. All right, let's do that again. find one that looks really good. That's it for the nail gun. I drilled those holes. And I've drilled these holes. Now, the last step is to actually screw in everything with my 1-inch GRK screws. Let me grab a DeWalt battery. I guess because we're on this side, we'll start with that one. So I'll move this one out the way. So now that we have our holes drilled, that's the wrong box. So let's grab 1-inch screws. Where do they go? Oh. You have all your holes drilled inside your cabinet box already. So now all you do is actually screw in all your runners. For the inside of the cabinet, you want your slot at the bottom. And you want your recess facing the inside of your cabinet. And there you go. That lets it slide out halfway. And you want the screw just tight enough that it allows it to slide out, but doesn't actually cause tension or friction on the actual runner. Your actual drawer box itself is going to be what keeps it from being able to slide too far this way and fall off your bottom runner. So by sizing everything right, everything should stay inside of its place. Alright. And now I can pull that out. Put 2 1/4-inch runners down here at the bottom. And then grab my unit. And then you take the same holes that you drilled into your actual drawerbinet box. There we go. I do need to paste wax that. That will be something I do probably afterwards, just because I do want to make sure I actually get the drawer fronts and the handles on. But essentially, you'll just paste wax everything that directly makes contact to make sure everything slides real smooth. Oh, let me close this one actually. There we go. All right, next up is drawer fronts. Let me actually spin the camera back around here to the bench. What are these? These are 11. Where's my phone at? We're at 28%. We might be able to install these last two doors. All right, so I need to go over 11. How far is the space? Looking at 9/16. So 9/16 from the panel. The 9/16 plus a quarter. Let me mark the other door. Yes. Huh? All right. What I just did was mark the overhang that each one of these panels need to have past one of the drawer fronts, so I can kind of look from the back side, make sure everything's lined up, clamp it in place, and I can drive my screws in from the back side. So now we can go back over here and start installing them. I've lost 5% in that short period of time. I am hoping we can make it to the end. Let's see, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch. Alright, we're on my lines. Now I can't remember if I was using 1-inch screws or 1.5 inches. Jesus. Once it gets low, she definitely starts dropping percentage pretty fast. Yeah, definitely gonna need to paste wax these. Alright, then the next step is to go back to drilling the holes for the handles. And with that, the last thing I need to do is actually attach all of the handles. It looks like we're actually going to make it. I'm actually kind of excited to see all this finally put together. And because I went ahead and drilled all the holes in the handles previously, all I gotta do, now that I have the holes drilled into the cabinet front, take 2 screws from the inside, and then I can just line my handle up with it and tighten it down. And again, I have my holes already drilled on the back side, so I placed them right over the screws poking out, and then lock them in. Those two definitely need to be paste waxed. Which I might do off camera, but see if we can get all the handles put on. And then give you guys a look at how it looks after everything's done. Phone still hasn't died. And we have two more handles to put on and a quick pan around for you guys to see what it all looks like. I think we might make it. And bam, we are all done. I say thank you guys for actually tuning in this entire live stream. We just hit 2 hours and 52 minutes. I'm at 13% left. These are the custom drawerbinet units with wooden full extension drawer slides. I actually thought my phone had just died. Hey, thank you, boss. We're just now finishing up. Let's give you guys a quick little tour of what we had going on. My phone's at like 10%, so I'm at the end of the stream before the phone dies, and the stream ends up running for like another 30 minutes. So I think the best way to end the stream is with a nice wide view of those cabinets. And also, if you guys are wondering, these cabinets were meant to match these cabinets up front. If you guys are wondering also about the shop, this is my dad's shop. He gave it, well, not gave it to me, but he's allowing me to use it. He's a Falcons fan. These cabinets were the first things I built inside the shop before any of this was in here. I built those up front, and now these are some of the last cabinets I'm building, and I'm also making sure they match, because again, he's a Falcons fan. But again, I greatly appreciate everybody for joining in this live stream. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. If you guys did, make sure you smash that like button down below. Leave me more comments, subscribe, and then I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Peace.